What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Shadow in the Cloud video and Ending Explained, aka already a worst movie of the year contender. Now, I was excited to check this out as I love World War II movies, and I'm excited for the new Band of Brothers spiritual sequel set around the bombing runs of World War II. Of course, I was also interested in the idea of mysterious cargo and the possible supernatural elements of the movie, which went nowhere, and the reveal was absolute trash, like sadly most of the movie. There will be spoilers in the video, so do please be warned. Now, we open with a typical World War II film warning of the dangers of not looking after your airplane and letting repairs go unnoticed, which can cost you your life. It references gremlins causing these problems, and this was actually something in World War II that pilots would blame these mysterious gremlins for causing the problems with their planes, and this cartoon was actually kind of having a historical fact here, as it was used in quite a few kind of PSAs. Now, of course, it's not true these gremlins were causing the problems and it was laziness or oversight or the such, but the gremlins are not real, but they do appear later in the movie, which is totally unexplained and is a real waste of story. That's the problem with the story. It tries so stupidly hard to be woke and feminist. We have all the sexists killed by the Japanese pilots or the gremlins in almost comical scenes. The story hasn't got a clue what it wants to be or tell. Misogyny in the war, a monster story, or World War II, Memphis Belle style homage, it tries all of them and fails miserably at, again, all of them. We open with Maud looking mysterious and trying to find the plane she is due to board for assignment in 1943, Auckland, New Zealand. Now, there's many weird decisions in the movie, such as the plane just appears and disappears before she can board it, and it takes a while before we even get into the movie, and I thought, hey, is this some sort of Phantom Plane of the Dead ghost ship style movie? Now, what ensues is almost parody, as the men leer at her and get over the top misogynistic towards Maud with crude comments and the like. It feels so ridiculous, much like every bloke in Wonder Woman 1984 is a horn dog lech towards any female they see. A long back and forth about her orders and her credentials occur, and obviously later on it did turn out that her assignment was a lie and she was carrying her out of wedlock child with her out of fear of an enraged husband. The baby's father, yes, he just appears and happens to be on board and accepts to look after the cargo as he gets slumped into the plane's under turret. Now, this is where the movie takes a gigantic dip, where Maud spends most of the movie in the turret, and the interest wanes from myself heavily as she only interacts with the crew via the radio. I was expecting a lot more here, and I don't think that the movie is strong enough to carry this static setting for most of the movie. She starts to listen in on the radio and the crew's conversations, which is beyond crass, as Quaid defends her, of course, as he's the baby daddy, but they don't know that yet. Now, weirdly, she introduces herself as some sort of cringe girl boss, and we get a weird shot of each guy introducing himself over the radio, with visuals looking like some sort of boss introduction from a video game. And they are absolutely cringe. I don't know why they made them so lechy and made them so kind of scary. It's just weird. And they rip into her and the New Zealand guy as well, Anton Williams, who's subject to racist abuse and is a tiny bit rude to Maud as well. The dialogue is so on the nose, it's just absolutely laughable. It's written by Max Landis, who seemed to have a deal with the devil to make Chronicle a hit and be cursed afterwards, as he and Josh Trank have had awful careers after that movie, and I will admit I did defend Bright, despite the cultural consensus being that it was awful. Now, she spots a gremlin flying around, and naturally, no one believes her. I'm really confused as to why this is there, because it's not really acknowledged or there's just nothing. What I don't get is, are gremlins supposed to be denied by the military but exist? And this is like a common thing, as no one seemed to comment on it other than dismissing her. This setup of law in the world is not paid off, and the movie really could have had no gremlins in the movie and still have the same story. She spots a Japanese scout plane, which again, no one believes her because there are just misogynistic NPCs on the plane. The crew eventually find out that Maud does not exist and she's been lying about who she really is all this time, but before the crew can learn what the truth is, she locks herself in the turret. She then aims at a Japanese plane as it goes to attack them. She shoots down the plane and earns some sort of respect for the bomber crew that is very short-lived. She eventually tells the crew how she boarded the plane under her maiden name, as she's married and needed to ensure total confidentiality for the mission. Eventually the gremlin returns and damages the plane once more, only for the crew to say she's lying again and not believe her, which makes zero sense, and the dialogue and actions of the crew are so cartoony it is cringe, but my dudes, it gets worse. The crew feel she's a bad omen and think their problems with the plane and such, which has had faulty hydraulics and other parts which Maud did say was happening, but they feel it is her fault, and they go to look in her bag while Quaid is in the upper turret and find a baby. It turns out that she did have a child with Quaid, and her husband found out and came to the base, and she feared she and her child would be killed, because the base would allow someone in the base to simply go and kill a female during the height of World War II. Yeah, this movie takes logic, shoves it up its backside, and sharts it out. We get into the final act here, and Japanese fighters attack just as this revelation is spoken, and a gremlin ends up stealing the baby. Is the gremlin supposed to be some sort of metaphor for feminism or something? I don't get it. Maud then tries to exit the plane, and we get some really dodgy CGI as she progresses and gets her baby back. It looks like Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox as she fights the gremlin, except that is not a compliment. She works her way through the plane, but in a moment of girl boss greatness, all the men who were rude to her or made lewd advances are killed off one by one, like some sort of psychic end-level woke female. I actually belly laughed when the bald guy fell out of the plane there, as feminism won the day. Eventually they managed to crash land the plane, only for the gremlin to survive and try to steal the child, as Maud rips off her sleeves and beats it down, and I presume she lives a life after that, I guess. I'm not sure what the point of this movie was, as if it's supposed to show feminism in World War II in the most comical way, then it succeeded. If it was to have a Ripley-style badass female, then it failed. Same with if they wanted some sort of overlord or a cult movie, but in the air, then this was a waste of time. As always, I did try to go into this optimistic and wanting to like it. Even movies like Venom, which I wish I walked out of to get to the pub earlier, well, I wanted to like this, man. This is trash. I know Matt Landis can do better, as I think Bright did have some redeeming factors to it, but this was something else and a real letdown. But that's it for this video, so if you enjoyed it, please do drop a like down below, and please do subscribe with notifications on if you want more, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.